Honeymoon Road by Richard Elsliger. Olaf Einerson left the lights of Las Vegas behind, driving randomly into the night for several hours now with his new bride. The rental car, he insisted, be a fast and sporty model, not having such opportunities in Iceland to rent such a fast car. Sigrid Persdotter, his new wife, snuggled comfortably in the passenger seat, side bolstering, hugging her in a passionate embrace. In a matter of hours, that inanimate embrace of the racy bucket seat would be substituted with her new husband's firm grasp as they made love to celebrate their nuptials. Sigrid, an independent Scandinavian woman, still kept her last name, as is the patronymic tradition of all Icelanders. Her last name carried the first name of her father, Per, and she was therefore Per's daughter, a tradition that harkened back to the old ways that sometimes resisted the onslaught of modernism. Olaf smiled at his new bride, satisfied that he'd made the right choice in his life. The sports car responded well to Olaf's steady, confident hand at the wheel and his adept fingers on the paddle shifters. Sigrid watched the desert scenery whip by her passenger window, scrub brush, plants, and rocks in the sand that filled her field of vision as the sun set. Olaf drove on toward the descending night, unsure of any specific destination, only driving for the sake of a carefree, perpetual motion and the need for high-performance thrills. He knew that even higher performance thrills with Sigrid would ensue once they found a place to stay for the night. The V12 engine growled its approval in a sexually charged way, mimicking the sexual tension between man and bride. The further from Vegas they traveled, the more sparse the population centers became, until no lights illuminated the way forward, and nothing of any city limits reflected in their wake. No car approached, and none followed. They were alone. "Good we got gas at the last stop," said Olaf, choosing to practice his English. A mild hint of his old Norse accent added an exotic tone to otherwise perfect English. "Yes, for certain," said Sigrid, responding in kind. "Do you know where we are?" "Of course I do," said Olaf. "We're on the best trip of our lives. It doesn't get any better than this." He nailed the gas, and the engine responded with favor, sucking huge quantities of air and fuel into the combustion chambers, giving off a fierce whine, sounding like a weapon of mass destruction on the highway. The gas needle dropped a small increment at the sudden demand for horsepower. Worshipping the god of speed always required a sacrifice to the deity, and that sacrifice was high-octane petroleum. Olaf flipped on the high-beam headlights, and they shot piercing arrows of bright intensity far along the asphalt. The headlights momentarily captured a wooden cross at the side of the road, decorated with cards and wreaths. "Look there," said Olaf. "Someone didn't make it." Sigrid aimed her attention toward the roadside memorial. "I wonder what happened," she said. "Nothing good," said Olaf. "Nothing good at all." The engine purred on, propelling the newlyweds at a healthy 75 miles per hour. Another marker came up upon them fast. A large cross with three smaller crosses surrounding it, all of them adorned with wreaths and what looked like candle pots and assorted handwritten messages. The couple blew by the memorial fast, putting the roadside tragedy behind them. Sigrid gave her man a sad-looking glance. "That looked like a family back there," said Sigrid. "Sure did," said Olaf, squeezing the throttle more. "I feel we should go back and pay our respects," said Sigrid. "No time for that now," said Olaf. "Maybe on the way back." "That's a bit cold," said Sigrid. "Don't you feel bad for those people?" "Of course I do, my love, but that isn't going to bring them back. And besides, they aren't even there. These are just roadside markers to mark where they died." Sigrid stared out the window at the shadowy scenery. An old cat's eye sign lit up in the distance. US 50, it read. Olaf instantly knew the road from all the travel information he'd researched. "US 50, said Olaf. "We're on the loneliest road in America. Feels lonely, doesn't it?" "Not lonely with you by my side," said Sigrid. Olaf took her hand in his and squeezed with great love and affection for his woman. Another roadside marker passed them by, and yet another. More markers lay ahead, coming at them with startling rapidity. "What the hell?" said Olaf. The markers flanked both sides of the road, now whipping by them at 80 miles per hour, dozens upon dozens. Olaf heard something pop, something ominous from beneath the chassis of their rental. The headlights burned through the night, but the steadiness of their guidance faltered, now pointing erratically left and right and left again, aiming to run off the road. Olaf struggled to maintain control, the steering wheel threatening to get away from him. He stayed off the brake, fighting the steering for control. The car swerved into a sharp curve ahead and Olaf grazed the dirt shoulder, raising clouds of dust into the air. "What's wrong?" said Sigrid, a roiling fear rising up in her. "Steering's out," said Olaf, well into the sweeping left-hander. His right foot rolled off the gas, and he spun the car onto the soft shoulder, knocking down a hefty roadside cross, crushing it beneath the low-slung exotic, and cracking the front spoiler. Clouds of dust rose up around the headlights, and their beams stretched out to illuminate uncountable roadside markers, more than could be counted. Olaf undid his seatbelt and got out to see the damage. Sigrid stayed motionless in her seat, shocked at such a close brush with death. This was supposed to be her honeymoon, her most glorious day. Olaf checked the rear tire. As he suspected, a blowout. He'd changed a lot of tires in his time, and now that time had arrived yet again. He went to the passenger side, and Sigrid lowered her window. He smiled at her. "Flat tire, I'm afraid," he said. "Is it serious?" asked Sigrid. "It's no problem. I'll just throw on a spare and get us to the next town." He went to the driver's side and pulled the interior lever, opening the front lid to retrieve the jack and spare. "No way," said Olaf. "What's wrong?" "You must be joking. No spare tire." Olaf rummaged around the trunk, finding a small tool kit that contained a tire inflator, a few tools, and a pair of gloves. "Well, they have a tire inflator and a pair of white gloves. That will have to do." Moonlight gave off its eternal luminosity, allowing him to find the valve stem on the driver's rear tire. Olaf removed the cap and threaded the tire inflator over the stem. He let go with a stream of compressed air and sealant into the flat. The sealant jetted out from a large hole in the tire, allowing compressed air to blast through the damaged rubber. Olaf reached to feel the hole, and it was large enough to put his finger into it. This wasn't going to work. He wanted to howl at the moon for this injustice on his wedding day. How could this have happened? "Ole, is everything okay?" asked Sigrid, sticking her head out the window. Olaf didn't know what to tell her. The specter of disappointment would inevitably reveal itself. She would know. "It's not working. The hole's too big." Sigrid began to panic, her childhood fears taking hold. On most times, she kept such childish fears at bay. This time, they bubbled up from the depths of her soul and took hold of her throat like a serial killer, practicing to finish her off. She got out of the car to see the tire, hoping it wasn't as bad as Olaf claimed. He was a bit of a trickster like the god Loki of Norse mythology, and Olaf might have staged the whole scene to play an elaborate joke on her. He was known to do such things before. When she saw the collapsed sidewall of rubber and a slight bend in the rim, she knew this was serious. "You weren't kidding," she said. "I wish I had been," he said. "And you said there's no spare?" "None." "What now?" Olaf pulled out his phone. It lit up to show more dire news. No signal. US 50 didn't disappoint. It truly was the loneliest highway in America. "No signal," he said, putting the phone away. "Let me try mine," said Sigrid, removing a phone from her purse. It read no signal as well. "Looks like we're stuck until somebody comes along and gets us," said Olaf. "It's cold out. I'll get back in the car," said Sigrid. Olaf laughed with hearty abandon. "Some Icelander you are," he said. "I thought we were born for cold weather. Evidently not so, I see." Before Sigrid could answer, she saw one of the crosses caught in the Lamborghini's headlights begin to move. It angled off and fell over. Then another cross began to move in erratic motions before it too fell over. She squinted, not believing her eyes. There were no winds, there were no people, yet the crosses began to fall. "Olaf, Olaf," she shouted. "Something's happening out there." Olaf stood up from his spot next to the flat. "What do you mean?" "Those crosses, I saw them move." "Where?" said Olaf, walking to the raised driver's door. She pointed with urgency and balled up in a defensive posture. Olaf scanned the area, seeing so many crosses on both sides of the road, but not seeing any movement. A stray wind stirred up desert sand, whipping sharp granules into Olaf's eyes. He stood guard by the driver's door and continued scanning the vicinity, checking for movement. He saw nothing and got back into the driver's seat and closed the door, putting his arm around Sigrid. He cuddled her and made her relax. "There's nothing out there, Sigrid." You're tired and it's the mind playing tricks. Like the god Loki. Well, we gave up those gods a long time ago. There is no Loki. Maybe so, said Olaf, but alcohol will make you hallucinate. You pounded a few before we left Vegas. That was hours ago, she said, and I can drink you under the table, dear. Olaf smirked at the challenge. That was just that one time, my dear. Next time you won't be so lucky. Sigrid looked through the windshield to the last spot where she saw movement. The cross still stood stalwart among many others. The desert wind swept up many maelstroms of sand that hit the windshield. Sandstorm coming, said Olaf. He raised his window. The wind picked up at a tremendous speed, raging now, blasting sand at the Lamborghini, obscuring the headlights, and making the crosses ahead vanish from the purview of the headlights. Sigrid heard something outside while Olaf played with the radio. She heard a lamentable groan. What was that? Said Sigrid. She grabbed on to Olaf's arm. What was what? Said Olaf, still playing with the radio, trying to get a station to come clearer. Sounded like an animal, she said. We're in the desert, my love. There are many animals out here, and I'm one of them. Olaf grabbed her and stole a passionate kiss. Sigrid relaxed in his embrace and moaned with pleasure. A minute passed as they kissed, while the sandstorm magnified its assault on the couple, pounding the paint and the windshield. The wind roared. With great force, the driver's side window smashed, scattering sharp pebbles of glass. A pale hand entered the cabin and grabbed Olaf by the throat, squeezing hard on his neck. Olaf gasped for air, fighting the hand and arm while hitting the start button on the Lamborghini. The engine lit up and he mashed the throttle. The Lamborghini rocketed away from the shoulder and merged with the highway so fast that Sigrid had no time to shriek. The hand and arm remained in the cabin, still moving, and Olaf threw it out the window. Ahead, creatures walked the road, denizens of the dead that hobbled and advanced toward them, cluttering the asphalt with the stink of death. A shower of sparks trailed behind, the flattened tire having shredded and peeled away, leaving only the alloy rim to contact the pavement. The Lamborghini hobbled its way, knocking over these roadside beings, smashing bodies and crumpling body panels on the exotic rental. What the hell is this place? Cried Sigrid. We're either in hell or a bad movie, said Olaf, externally under control, but terrified within. I do know we're in trouble. The Lamborghini slowed, unable to gain any traction. Olaf steered as best he could, veering around these zombies, when one of the dead crashed through the windshield. It tried to bite Sigrid, foul-smelling breath and milky eyes fixated on her delicious beauty. Olaf fought to keep it away from his bride and slammed on the brakes. It flew back out onto the hood and rolled over into the blinding sandstorm. Stopped cold, more came at them groaning, human spirits forever trapped within the rotting corpses of their former selves, now programmed to mindlessly attack all that lived, programmed with a twisted intent to add two more to their horde of roadside dead. Olaf and Sigrid, surrounded, overrun by the misshapen specters of doom, kissed each other for one last time.